Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show we're talking about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episodes of The Blacklist. Before I get started, I will let you know ahead of time, I am watching these episodes one at a time, so obviously I'm going to talk about the first episode first, then after this recording, I'll go watch the second episode and come back and, share my thoughts. Obviously, you won't really know the difference because obviously they're going to be put together, so. But nevertheless, So, this first episode is crazy. For one, it turns out we're connected to this Marko Jankowics dude, played by Arnold, Vosloo. Thing I best know him from is the first two Mummy movies. I know that's probably got a sub, as an actor where it's kind of like a thing of people always associate you. That's always a conversation that ends up coming up. But it's just that's the thing I best know him from. That's the first movies I ever saw him in. But obviously he's popped up in other stuff too. But nevertheless. So it turns out he sells an LSD, and then this all ties into Liz's storyline because her and Jennifer track down Marguerite, and it ends up in this interesting aspect where it's Liz is let's kidnap her, and Jennifer's whoa, whoa, whoa. Once again, it's that interesting thing, because it seems maybe Liz has really got me messed up because I think for a moment I'm oh, maybe she's regretful, but then she does stuff I'm maybe she isn't regretful about getting Reddington locked up. His life is literally on the line, but in the grand scheme of things, it's no, because for her, it's what matters the most is finding out the truth. Because once again, she doesn't believe Reddington's really her dad, because it's oh, this is the imposter who killed my dad, so I have to find out the truth. So she doesn't have that. Like I said, but even then, she has flip-flopped on it, because it's no matter what, she's even though Reddington is this dude, the fact of the matter is, he's actually done some good as well, so it left her a little conflicted. But then again, we don't know. Liz is such a fantastic liar. We have no idea if that's really how she feels or not. It's hard to say. But the fact is, you could tell Jennifer had, even her search for the truth, she had reluctancy in all this, and it's maybe it's a good thing that she did. I mean, if Liz had followed her reluctancy, we wouldn't have been in the situation that we're in, where it's oh, they go after Marguerite, but it turns out that her boyfriend is Marko. And so it's that turns into a complicated situation because Jennifer gets kidnapped. And who does Liz turn to? The one person she can turn to, Wrestler. It's yo! And she tells him everything, which I even love later on, because it's a whole conversation that Liz and Wrestler have that I thought was so good. It's kind of I guess, everything isn't what it seems, because it's because I was his girlfriend Hannah's there, and it's oh, this is the great way for Hannah and Liz to meet, because she shows up at Wrestler's place with blood on her hands, and then later on they're interrogating a pregnant woman, and even Hannah's I don't think this is in the FBI, the bureau protocols and stuff like that. The fact is that you have this lady here like that and everything, and it's okay, so that's kind of a can of worms all in its own. But it turns out she's from Alter Ego, because I was oh, this girlfriend came out of nowhere. I didn't put two and two together, but it's oh yeah, this is the lady he met through Alter Ego, because even Liz pieces it together. She's oh, I mean, because he's basically, I love the conversation, because she's you're acting like I practically called you a loser. I actually, in actuality, I called you an amazing loser. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But the fact is that Liz is she kind of knows that, because I said, Wrestler's been chasing Reddington for so many years, and it turns out he hasn't been chasing Reddington at all, because this is an imposter. And I love that. It kind of makes you go, huh, I don't know what I thought I knew everything. Actually, I didn't. I mean, for Liz, it's I get what you mean. I thought Reddington was my dad. I thought Tom was just a teacher. It's yeah, there's been a lot of deception in her life, so. But the fact is, Wrestler kept this off the books and everything like that. It's you could have gone to Cooper, but now it's kind of too late for that, because Cooper would have without a doubt helped. But to be fair on Liz's part, she said, she couldn't take the chance that Reddington would have found out. And so now it's a situation of they ended up using Reddington to help get Jennifer back. Because Liz did what she does best. She lied. And the fact of the matter is, Reddington had his questions. He had his suspicions, because why would some drug dealer like Marko messed with Jennifer. Is Jennifer into drugs or something? It's like, I don't know. Like, you know, he's like, what? Why do I feel like you're hiding something from me? She's like, I'm not. Like, I'm just kind of lost in detail. It's like, I didn't know you and Jennifer were in contact. And we haven't been. She just called me nervous and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, look at you. Liz is, dude. I mean, to be fair, she said at the beginning of this season, maybe it was at the beginning of the season or maybe it's the end of last season, but she's kind of like, she learned how to lie from the best, you know? It's like, Reddington's whole life is built on a lie, as we know, so obviously he's been lying for decades, so yeah. But nevertheless, also interesting turn of events, obviously when Jennifer ends up telling Marko the truth, it's like, oh, he finds out that Marguerite hasn't told him the truth about herself, like the whole thing of like, oh yeah, like I worked with Kohler, I was his nurse and everything like that. So I was so certain that he was going to kill her. Like, I thought that was going to be it, like, especially after her and Jennifer finished talking. I thought she'd never get the chance to finish talking, and then, like, Marko would put her down like that or something. So I thought inadvertently that would help Reddington, because Reddington found out from helping out with that whole situation in jail, like, Marguerite's name came up, and he's like, oh, Liz knows the truth. So now Liz knows the truth about Reddington to a certain degree. She doesn't know the entire truth, but now Reddington knows that she knows. And it's like, what? Oh, this level, this game of deception just got even more heightened. I was actually really surprised by that. I never would have suspected that he would have found out, because like my thought process was at the end it was all going to point to Jennifer, and Jennifer would get taken out, and then maybe Liz would kind of like continue her like all pretending like she's still on Reddington's side. I thought that was potentially where it was going to go, but it's like, nope, we're jumping right past that to be like, nope, he knows that Liz knows something. She doesn't know everything, but he knows she's in the process of figuring it all out. So that's one layer of this situation that isn't crazy. But this is a big secret between Wrestler and Liz, because now like two people have left their lives. Like, you know, Jennifer is backing down from this situation because it's like, for her, like, this is too much, because it's like, Jennifer's like, I was so worried about what Reddington would do to me and my mom, and now I'm so worried about what I might do to him, because for her it's like, you know, this is going to corrupt her, and Liz is like, trust me, you're just like me, you'll find a way. And she's like, to kind of, live with it, kind of just be okay with everything. But Liz is like, to survive. But for Jennifer, that's just too much, you know? And it's like, it's a lot to ask her to handle. Like, I mean, she's only just entered into this. You know, Liz has been living in this for a while now. And once again, it's like, it's crazy when you look and think about how much she shifted. Like, you know, she can't deny she's very much like Reddington. The fact is that she's willing to lie to get what she wants to, you know. I'm sure in her mind there's justifications for it, because it's like, hey, the fact of the matter is this is all about finding out the truth about Reddington. So, you know, it's for a good cause. But I mean, obviously it's her personal vendetta. It's not like unraveling this mystery will benefit anyone, the task force, other than herself. You know, it's kind of a selfish vendetta. But I mean, to be fair, I mean, anyone in her circumstances, because it's like, you thought this for so long, you found out this. It's just kind of like, he holds the keys to your past, and he won't give you the answers. And once again, she found out last episode, Denbei has so many answers, but he can't and won't give her the answers either, you know? So it's understandable. You have all these questions that you want the answers to, so it's understandable that she would go to such lengths for them, you know? Because she has to, especially dealing with someone like Reddington, you know? So there's that aspect of everything. And it's kind of interesting and kind of sad, like the way the story plays out in the prison situation. It's kind of interesting that the warden kind of forcing Reddington's hand, but in the long run, hey, I'll help you out because it helps me out. And that poor dude, like, because obviously it's avoiding a gang war in the prison. Reddington's trying to get this dude to pay back his debt, because, you know, the people from his gang are telling him, hey, you need to kill this dude, because basically it's seen as a sign of weakness that he can't get the dude to pay back his debt or whatever. But then it's like, the dude ends up getting killed by his own gang, because and Reddington's like, what the hell did you do? I was getting the debt paid. And he was kind of like, no, I asked you to get involved, we take care of our own, because once again it was shown as a sign of weakness. you know, the warden doesn't care too much because it's like, hey, you know, you might have lost the battle, but you prevented a war. But he's like, oh, look at you, the pragmatist. Which, like, I was warned, like, I was actually kind of like, oh, the warden's not that great of a guy. Like, he's taking advantage of the situation. It's like, no. I mean, to be fair, later on we might find out that's the case, but it's kind of like, I can't do much about it. Like, the dude's already serving a life sentence, so, like, there's no point of trying to take this to a judge to, like, stack on top of his life sentence. It won't really do anything. So Reddington does what he does. He took care of himself because the dude was like, I just sell drugs. I'm not trying to kill or anything. I just want to do my time so I can get out there, have a life, have a family. It's like, you know, it's like, I think for Reddington, it's, you know, he doesn't like people who go back on their words, especially killing like a young innocent man in a situation where the situation was resolved, but you went and stepped in and did something stupid like that. So Reddington, and I also love that the little thermometer at the end says, well done. I was like, that's a nice little touch. So I moved away from it, but the fact is, like, Hannah ends up leaving wrestler, and so for her it's like she's got enough lies in her life, she can't have other lies, you know. It's just too much. So, which in my head immediately I'm like, if anyone's going to get together, it's going to be Liz and Wrestler. I've always kind of felt like that, even like earlier on in the series, and it never happened between them. I guess for them that's like a professional line they'd never crossed. But to me, like, especially with this big secret between them that the rest of the task force doesn't have, or no, I'm like, they're going to get together, aren't they? And also, side note, at some point they're going to end up telling Cooper. It's going to be like neck deep in this situation, but they're eventually going to tell Cooper, and that's going to be definitely interesting, I feel like. But obviously I'm not talking about the big news we found out in this episode, that basically we learned from Marguerite. She didn't confirm it, but the fact is Jennifer looked in her eyes and could tell. The fact is, Marguerite never met Reddington, who he was before, but she met the woman who was there during his surgeries, who set the whole thing up, Katarina. And that confuses Liz. She's like, oh, wait, why would my mom be there to help some random, like, the guy who killed my dad? Like, why would she do that? And it's like, because she was saving the man that she loved. We don't know the whole situation, because we know that she was trying to sucker in the real Reddington. That was her whole, you know, KGB training and stuff like that was the whole point. But, you know, to be fair, that's the story we're kind of being told. But now it's kind of like, okay, so what if the truth is that Liz's mom fell in love with whoever Reddington really is? Then it's like, how did the real Reddington get involved in all of this? So it's kind of like, maybe that part of it is true, that she was trying to seduce him, and maybe he found out about this other guy, or at the very least, like, because, you know, Liz ended up shooting her dad, remember? So that means, like, the real Reddington must have been a terrible dude. He must have found out the truth about not only maybe that, you know, Katarina was using him, but also the fact is that she had someone else on the side. Maybe it's someone that she was really in love with. Everything with, you know, the real Reddington was kind of fake. And so Liz ended up shooting him. And then Katarina, wanting to protect her daughter as well as the man that she really loves, this fake Reddington, it's like, you take him. Like, they probably concocted this plan all together. Probably all three of them, that being Mr. Kaplan, Katarina, and Reddington, of him taking his persona, because it's like, he's dead, but like, this way no one goes looking for them if they think like, oh, he's this criminal, he's betrayed the youth. Like, no one's going to come looking for him that way. So this was to cover up, you know, and protect Liz and everything. And this was probably also Katarina's way of making sure that, you know, that's what I'm chalking this up to. So once again, it goes back to what I'm saying, like, the fake Reddington is really Liz's dad, and the real Reddington is, you know, Jennifer's dad, but he's dead, so that's going to create a conflict of interest, potentially. I don't know. That's my mindset's been on that for the longest time, but maybe the twist will be that she really is the fake Reddington's, I mean, the real Reddington's daughter, but I highly doubt that. But we'll keep a small window open for that possibility. But it's like, I'm sure it's what I've been saying this entire time, and because that's the only reason why Katarina would help. You know, so that's definitely going to cause a problem later on when Jennifer finds out the truth, because Liz is like, this will be over at some point, and when it is, I'll track you down. You know, we'll be kind of a family again once the truth is known. So. But when the truth comes out, I think Jennifer won't be an ally. She'll be an enemy. And I think all this stuff that her and Liz are doing, like the stuff they got mixed up in, I think Jennifer's going to use it to not only try and destroy Reddington, she's going to try and destroy Liz with it. I think that's it. Like, whereas they are like sisters now because she'll learn the truth, because it's like, you learn, maybe it's like we had this sisterly bond until I learned the truth that you're really his daughter, so there's nothing between us. And the fact, maybe Liz will try and protect Reddington, the fake Reddington, for what happened and what he did, but then Jennifer won't appreciate it. It's like, now that she knows the truth, it's like, I'm going to get revenge because my dad was still a good person, because she remembered her dad for being the dude that he was until Reddington tarnished his name with this criminal reputation of his. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. It speaks volumes too. The fact is that going after Marguerite was kind of the main thing, but hey, let's also make sure that Jennifer gets out of this alive too. And it's like, even Dembe being like, you're doing the right thing. He's like, just hopefully I don't end up regretting this. But it's like, yeah, the fact is, even though that's not really his daughter, he's still going out of his way to protect, because obviously that's someone that's important to Liz, but also because, Reddington he does have the code that he does have. Like, the fact of the matter is, he doesn't kill innocent people in these situations. Like, obviously showing what he did this episode. The fact is, he didn't want Jennifer to die, because no matter what this craziness that is his life and just all the secrets he's keeping, Jennifer's an innocent person in this whole situation. So obviously he was trying to, he wants her to be happy and be safe and, live, so there's that. But when it's all said and done, Reddington's like, Marguerite's got to disappear, essentially, because now that Katerina, like before, they were able to get to her beforehand. Like, this was enough of a carrot dangled in front of Liz that she will not stop. Now that Katerina's name is what reinvigorated this for her, essentially. Like, she would have kept looking for Marguerite, sure, but now that Katerina's name's been thrown in there, it's a detail that will not stop her. So Dembe's kind of like, we can find another way, and he's telling Marguerite, like, have you ever been to Scotland? So I'm wondering, is that him really doing what Reddington's saying of, like, take care of her? I think Dembe's not going to do that, just because, like, I think Dembe's going to put this in a situation where that Liz can find out the truth on her own. This way, he's not betraying Reddington, even though he technically is. We'll see. Maybe Dembe was just doing that to kind of lower her guard. We'll have to wait and see whether or not Dembe actually does it. He says he understands, but it's kind of like, this is what's necessary, but like I said, and once again, this is all based on me just watching this one episode. Obviously, probably maybe more details will come out next episode, kind of based on this. But like I said, I'll share my thoughts about that soon enough. But that in itself was just a crazy episode. So I'm very interested to see, what the next episode is all about. And obviously, I'll pick up from here with my thoughts about it. Okay, now we're moving into the other episode. Okay, so a lot of interesting things. Obviously, the trial went on. Not the show that I thought Reddington was going to put on, but that's obviously because for him, it's all about proving his innocence in all of this. Because everyone's thinking, and even Samar kind of throws it out there from the beginning, it's like, oh, like, he's probably going to try and get some dirt, because that's what this is all about. They're going after a blacklister, Minister D, who basically blackmails people, and it's like, okay, so he's trying to blackmail like the judge or the jury or something like that. But then the wrestler kind of slips up and he's like, or maybe he's innocent, we don't know about this guy. And Samar's like, this guy, and you had Liz step in really quickly, like, what wrestler means is, and I was like, that's so interesting, because it's like, yeah, those literal charges of treason, it's like, yeah, this guy didn't do them, the real writing potentially did. So obviously that's what they kind of think about all of this. Like, obviously it's so interesting, wrestler being in the know and everything about what's going on. But lo and behold, I love that, like, you have Reddington, putting this out there. He's like, oh, there's some evidence to prove I'm innocent, and yes, the FBI is tracking it down and stuff like that. And even Seema, he's like, yes, I get it, you're bothered by it, the fact is they're doing this, that is also going to inadvertently help me with my trial and everything. But then in the long run, Seema actually went to Wrestler to testify. He's like, the reason why I bring this up to you, Harold, is because I don't trust you. You guys all work for Reddington, and Wrestler was chasing after him before this task force got put together and stuff like that. And now it puts Wrestler in a very compromising position, because it's like, if he lies on the stand, he could be held for perjury. If they go like, is this man in the courtroom Raymond Reddington? And then it comes out later on he's not, like, that's a whole thing. So he's perjured himself in that regard. But if he tells the truth, Reddington's going to know that they know, and he's going to do whatever it takes to stop them from finding out the truth. So it's like stuck between a rock and a hard place. But Liz is like, if I have to get the most honest person I know to live on a stand like that, then I don't want to know the truth. It's like, which is so interesting. The fact is that Liz is willing not to cross that line because it's wrestler. The fact is she does trust him and everything. And he's like, I am not the most honest person. She's like I said, the most honest person I know. And the fact of the matter is that's kind of a very low bar, sadly. But the fact is the way he touched her arm and everything, because she's like, I could never forgive myself if something happened to you because of me. And it's like, oh, literally proving my point even more of like, okay, they're definitely tiptoeing towards that. Like, obviously, like, there's always seemed like there might have been something there. It's interesting too, because obviously wrestler did not like Liz at first, because it's like, you know, wrestler being who he was, just kind of like, I've been the one at the top of all of this, like hunting down Reddington, and then Liz, who is, you know, God, she's kind of like wasn't her thing like behavior analysis? I think that was her whole thing, like when she first joined and stuff, like kind of like, you know, if you're familiar with the show Criminal Minds, she kind of does that type of thing. That was like her original thing. And it's like, you just joined up with the FBI recently, and now you're the one helping, you're the only person that Reddington will talk to and everything. So obviously he had issues with Liz, but obviously they grew to become friends and partners over the course of everything. So, but then you have Reddington being like, okay, I need you to track down the caller, because it turns out the caller wasn't actually Liz, it's someone else. But it's like Liz probably put that person up to it, and Dembe's like, you don't know that for sure, but that's what he needs to know. So Dembe tracks down a person, and it's this home slave, and it's like, okay, so was this it? It's not Liz. I'm like, oh, that's good. I was like, oh, it's not. I'm like, oh, obviously it had to be Jennifer then. So that's that. I'll circle back to that later. But the thing is, when Wrestler was on the stand, I love it. He keeps going, so, you know, yeah, Raymond Reddington was. And even Seema looked at him like, wait, what? He kept being like, why you keep saying it like that? And it's like, the man, Raymond Reddington, is in his courtroom, and the judge is like, you have to answer that. And he's like, yes. It's like, but you can tell Reddington was kind of figuring stuff out too, because he was putting Wrestler in a position to be like, you know, basically tell what he knows. And Wrestler's like, you don't want me to do that. He's like, oh, I think I do. And I'm like, yo, if it wasn't for the judge stepping in like that, dude, that was crazy. The fact of the matter is, like, it's the thing, like, Reddington's not going to act unless he's 100% sure. And then you can make the argument that could be his downfall. The fact is, he's suspicious, he won't act upon anything. I mean, that's why he didn't do anything with the whole Liz situation, because he had to know for sure. So, but basically, this all goes back to the act, because this main trial is about treason. The fact of the matter is, it's all about what he did initially before he became like the worldwide criminal that he became. So this is all about, what was it, like a ship that was, you know, taken out, and there was like 137 people that died, and that's what started his route of treason. And it's like all this stuff led back to him, but it's like all this stuff could have been stuff that's someone fake, because obviously, I love that he's like, because he's even asking Wrestler, he's like, you're familiar with my relationship with Katarina, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex, did I mention sex? Sex. And so for him, it's like, he starts blaming everything on Katarina. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, and why would he do that? But then it's like, okay, now when we kind of like listen to everything, he brings up the cabal and everything, and then we finally learn the truth, because like that's what this whole Minister D situation was about, because Minister D had a recording from years ago, like around the time of that, you know, attack and everything, the stuff that led to Reddington being labeled a traitor. And the fact is that Reddington, the fake Reddington, is like literally proving his own innocence. I'm obviously, by proving Reddington's innocence, he's proving his own innocence. But the fact is, he's kind of like, every time he refers to himself in third person, because you could tell he was trying to, because I think on some level there is a part of him that felt guilty that Reddington's name had been run through the mud. And it's like, it was about proving his own innocence, sure, but I think on some level it felt good clearing Reddington's name of being this traitor. He's been a traitor for decades, and now the truth comes out that like, hey, he's not the treason person. It's like, the fact of the matter is that he was all like, Reddington was always loyal to this country, that he has, he's like, Reddington did a lot of terrible things, but the fact is, a traitor was not one of those things. And I think there was like a little bit of relief, you know, being able to say that, you know. And then lo and behold, we hear the recording that Katarina, working with the cabal, because she was the one, like, maybe that came back up in season 2/3, like Katarina working with, I didn't remember that detail. Is that a new detail, that she was secretly working with the cabal? Is that something he's been hiding this entire time? But nevertheless, she framed him, because Reddington brings up the fact that matters. Obviously, the real Reddington had no idea that she was really KGB. It was just kind of a torrent love affair. He's like, he just found a woman that he fell in love with. And then it turns out they ended up having a child together. But he tried to leave with Liz. And so to get her daughter back, Katerina went through all of this. So she herself was stuck in a rock and a hard place. It was a complicated situation back then, stuck between her loyalty to the cabal and everything and her loyalty to her daughter, and also like the father of her child. So now it puts everything, into question, because it's like, dude, I was so certain. I literally just said it last episode. I was so certain that, this fake Reddington was her dad. But now I'm like shaky on that detail, because it's like, so the real Reddington, I don't know. It's hard to say, because when he says, like, at the end of the day, your mom and your dad loved you. And so it's like, okay, so is he referring to the real Reddington, or is he referring to him? Like, because she could be like a love child between this fake imposter and the real Reddington. And this fake imposter and Katerina, and Reddington just thought that he was the dad. Just like, what was his name? Home dude from season 4, I'm blanking on his name. It's the actor who played Kai Proctor in Banshee. Like, he thought he was Liz's dad, but then it turns out like Reddington told him something at the end of season 4 that made him back down. So it's like, okay, so we still don't know what that is, but I guess it's tied into all of this. Maybe he told him like, I'm not the real Reddington and stuff like that. So okay, so there's that. So it turns into a situation of like, I now my opinion is shifting that the real Reddington really was her dad. But then it brings up the question that, wrestler is like, why would he take Reddington's identity? Like, you could have been anyone, but why pick a man who was already this criminal, already thrown under the bus? I feel like it all has to be about protecting Liz, because if Reddington wasn't there, if he wasn't in the position that he was in, he wouldn't, the fake Reddington wouldn't be in a position to protect Liz, because she'd always be a target, because she'd be a connection to the truth in some shape or form. Like, they'd always be willing to go after her, and like, that's what this is all about, protecting Liz. So it's like, either that's because he loved Katerina so much that he was willing to do this to protect her daughter, or that is his own daughter. That really is, because remember, the DNA came back, but to be fair, that was for Reddington. But to be fair, like, because the DNA once again came back for Reddington, so it's like, not unless the imposter ended up having that blood sample, but it was like an old blood sample, so it's like, how would you have gotten to that otherwise? So it had to be a situation of, she has to be the real Reddington's daughter. I have no idea. Like I said, I'm so confused. I don't know, because it's like, they showed us such a great job of playing both sides to make you go, it legitimately could go either way. Like, even though everything's leaning this way, there's still that part of my brain that's like, I don't know. Like, everything, and everyone's probably screaming like, oh, obviously that, like, this imposter isn't her dad. But it's like, other stuff makes me think, because I feel like, I don't know. I'm like, would you really go this far for someone else's kid? You know what I mean? So that's what makes me think like she has to be his. But then it's like, what about all the evidence that's saying otherwise? I don't know. And that's what's bugging Liz the most. It's like, well, for one, she also found out, like, potentially, like, oh, my mom ended up betraying the man she loved, my dad, and ended up, putting him in a position where he was this traitor. And now, like, she probably feels a little guilty too, because it's now like our dad, her and Jennifer's dad, was taken away from them because of Liz's mom. And it's like, maybe, Liz might even be terrified that, Jennifer might resent her a little bit for it, because it's like, it was your mom that basically turned everything upside down. All this started with her lie, her lying about who she really was, and then also like this lie she concocted with the cabal to kind of discredit him and everything. Once again, this all goes back to the memories that Liz no longer has about her shooting somebody. So it's like, that had to have been the real Reddington coming back to get his daughter, like, after his name was thrown under the mud. And that's what led to, like, the fight. He was probably fighting Katerina to get Liz and take her away again. But then, the fake Reddington shows up, and Liz, not knowing what's going on, ends up shooting, because she probably never really met her dad. So she probably never really knew him. So I don't know, because that's always something that's got to go back to, because once again, like, her memories are jumbled. They were taken from her and she never got them back. So not less, but then again, like, wasn't the whole thing also like those were fake memories too? I don't remember, dude. It's all kind of like jumbled in my head in that regard. So that's always something I go back to, like the fact that she always referenced that, like, she remembers shooting her dad. So She remembered killing her dad. And even Reddington kind of confirmed that. So, once again, I think she shot and killed the real Reddington, which would also make Jennifer harbor some harsh feelings towards her. But once again, she was a kid at the time, so that couldn't be held against her. So, that's a problem in this situation. We don't know the truth. So many lies, so many secrets being kept, especially Dembe. Dembe confronts Liz. But she's like, you're Reddington's secret keeper. I'm just asking you to be mine. And when asked, Dembe doesn't, he lies, but he tells the truth, but not all of the truth, just like Reddington did in court. And so it turns into a situation of, hey, like, Dembe is like, nope, it wasn't Liz, which once again is the truth. And it's like, oh, and Ray's just like so relieved because he's like, oh, I thought she betrayed me again. Like, you know, if he found out that she betrayed him again, he'd be devastated. You know, he's already went through this once, but it's like, oh, I can forgive that. But put me in a situation where I could literally die because of your lie, your deception, your betrayal. You know, that's one thing. And now she's made Dembe complicit in this too. You know, because, you know, Dembe wants the truth to come out, but it's like, Reddington's secrets are his to tell, not mine. It's like, I keep his secrets, I don't tell them. So now he's complicit in this betrayal. Like before, like Reddington thought maybe Dembe was the betrayer, but it turned out to be Mr. Kaplan. But now it's like, now he's part of this and everything. Him, Wrestler, and Liz are kind of all in this. Granted, Dembe doesn't know about Wrestler being a part of this, so it is a crazy turn of events. I also love that, really quickly, to kind of have some levity to it, the fact is that we had Reddington kind of hitting on the judge and being like, oh no, after my acquittal we can talk about it. He's like, oh, why is everyone in such a rush to kill me? Fact is, we could talk about it over cocktails after my acquittal. And then even later on, she's like, yeah, you're still going to be locked up for a little bit. He's like, but what? I was just, what about, what, no bail? I was so looking forward to those cocktails. And she's like, you might be the most dangerous man I've ever had in my court, but the fact is that you are without a doubt the most incorrigible. And he's just kind of smiling and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, that's kind of Reddington being Reddington. Well, fake Reddington being fake Reddington. So that is just an interesting turn of events in that regard. So I'm so interested to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of that. There's also the other little note of this episode where it seems like Samar's condition is getting worse because she's getting migraines, and Aram is, you know, picking up on it. He's like, oh, I didn't know you were getting migraines. She's like, it didn't happen before, so it seems like her condition is getting worse. Like, we saw the early stages of it, because she also, I forgot, like, all the symptoms and stuff like that she had read about with her particular condition that she was kind of developing. So Aram is there for her. So I'm definitely interested to see where things kind of go in that regard, because things don't look good, as they're kind of like, it seems like things are going to get progressively worse, because it's something she's just kind of hiding from everyone, not really telling them. I doubt she even told Aram the truth, probably just still labeling it as just migraines by themselves, not telling him the bigger picture of everything, because she probably doesn't want anyone to kind of worry over her, stuff like that. So we'll see what happens in that regard as well. So, but I should also note too, like, this whole thing isn't over yet. They are done with the treason aspect, and he was found not guilty. But the fact is, all the other charges, his immunity deal had still kind of been thrown out the window. So all those other charges can be brought up against him and stuff like that. All the stuff he did under his immunity deal and stuff like that. Or rather, I guess all the stuff he did subsequently since his treason charge, and, you know, it's more so everything up to the immunity deal, I guess. Or, I don't know, like, now that the immunity deal is up, does all the other stuff he did under the immunity deal come after him or not? I think they're more so going after all the stuff he did before the immunity deal. But nevertheless, I'm very interested to see that. I doubt we're going to get to that, just because I caught a little snippet of the next episode, but I won't really go into it in case you're one of those people who doesn't like watching previews. I didn't mean to watch it either, but I just happened to catch it. I mean, because of that, I do know that there is no new episode of The Blacklist next week. There will be one the week after next, so do keep that in mind. So I'm very excited to see what the next episode has in store for us, and as we continue down this path to finding out the truth of this whole ordeal. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.